Hello, my salty amigos.
Hello, disciples. Welcome to Everyday Hope.
Your daily inspiration from the Word of God.
And today, my wife's going to kill me. But you know what? This is still probably better than your cooking.
That's rude.
I'm totally kidding.
When I do it.
But, so, essentially we're going to play a game. I'm going to let her describe the rules, and then I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about today's sin. And I'm going to get as much in as I can before the game starts, and you'll see why.
Well, I mean, I'm going to have to give away what we're talking about here.
That's fine.
So we're going to be doing a salt challenge, and Josh is going to read you Mark chapter 9.
I could do that now. So
yeah.
If we open up to Mark chapter 9, New Testament, guys, Matthew, Mark, Luke. We get to Mark, and then let's just start at, I think we best start at verse 47, because I feel like that's important to include as well. And I'll start at 43, why not? If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life maimed than to have two hands and go to hell, where the fire never goes out. If your foot causes you to sin, cut it off. It is better for you to enter life crippled than to have 2 feet and be thrown in hell. And if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. It is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with one eye rather than have 2 eyes and be thrown into hell, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. Everyone will be salted with fire. Salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can you make it salty again? Have salt in yourselves and be at peace with each other.
Have salt with yourself and at peace with each other. So we are going to cheers and pour salt on our tongues right now.
Wait, what? No.
And then I'll explain the rules. We gotta start right now.
I gotta organize these because I've been eyeballing these for a good 2 minutes now.
Just take one.
And
I
some
knew
are
cheat.
definitely higher than the others.
I
just
knew
want
you were
to.
gonna cheat.
I'm not cheating.
Yes, you are.
I'm strategizing.
No, just grab one and pour it on your tongue.
Got this one. We'll put a lot on there, huh?
This is like 5 pinches.
I don't like this. It's not fair because you already put salt on everything.
Not like this.
I think you should have like half that. That was a lot.
So, what we're going to be doing is
That was like a McDonald's
minutes,
fryer.
we have to pour salt on our tongue, and the first person to cave and drink water loses.
What do you think about caving? That was so rough.
And
They're birds.
if you guys couldn't tell, today we're talking about lust, and tying that in with salt, as in we're going to be lusting or craving the urge to drink water.
I'm busting out that water. Dang, is that condensation on you?
Oh my goodness.
But let me talk about lust a little bit, because this is an important topic, and I feel like it's something that's a big struggle for a lot of people I know, and it's a really difficult thing. It's difficult for both men and women out there today. Women have so much pressure, and they're forced so much to be accepted that I think that they look for that acceptance by giving in, so to speak. And I think there's an unreal amount of pressure on women. Men have it really hard too. I think when women look for that acceptance, it definitely makes them want to dress more provocative. It makes them want to act a certain way and seek that attention. And as men, we have to set our morals to not give in to that temptation or give in to that lust when we see women who are very provocative, and it's hard both ways. So let's talk about a couple of things real quick, and then I'll say break, and we'll do more salt apparently.
No, we do
I make it sound like
even if you're in the middle
it sounds
of
like
talking.
a drug at this point. One of the things that's important that me and her do, and I advise for any relationship, whether you're boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, or engaged, I don't care. This should be a rule in your relationship. And there's 2 rules that I believe in. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of people disagree with me in the comments, but this is what I find to be biblical. First, no exes. Right? I don't believe in being friends with your ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, ex-whoever when you're in a relationship with somebody. That's disrespectful, and that's putting yourself in temptation to have that person there. Maybe you're saying they're just a friend now, but that's somebody you used to have a relationship for and feelings for that were beyond friendship. So it's not proper for you to keep them in your life when you have feelings for somebody else. That should trump any feelings you have for that friend. And of course, I did get a phone call. And secondly, the second thing, this is also not being popular, something we don't do, and this is a hard one, especially in a pastoral role, but we don't hang out with the opposite sex one-on-one. It'd be fine if there's somebody I am seeking that in helping as a girl, if I'm there with her and my wife, or her and my sister, or another female there to offset the presence, somebody who is trusted, somebody who I'm accountable, not me, her, and her friend. No, that would not be okay. It would have to be somebody like my wife, my mother, my mother-in-law, my sister, somebody there to hold me accountable. And, it's not that I think that I would do anything, but let's look at it this way. Let's just say this person really has a vendetta against me, or, who knows? Maybe they're an angry person and they want to say something happened that didn't. That hurts my credibility, that hurts my relationship with Alyssa. I mean, you could be completely innocent in the situation and still have it backlash and affect things in a negative manner.
Just like Jacob, right?
No, David?
No.
Or Jacob?
With Pharaoh's wife.
Oh, yeah. That was... Oh.
So he was alone with Pharaoh's wife, and Pharaoh's wife lusted after him, and he said no,
And that
but
was,
he left his...
Joseph.
Joseph.
Jacob was the one who tried to give his wife away to Pharaoh. Now sleep with her, it's cool. Just don't kill me. That was terrible. But yeah, so exactly. So
and he
Joseph
was in prison wrongly. He didn't. He ran away, but she said otherwise.
Joseph was just there, faithfully serving, and the robe was grabbed, and I have a headache from this salt already. Is that normal?
I'm burning from like here down. It's like I got heartburn already. Yep.
I didn't expect that to be so loud. That makes up for it. What is it, like large grain only?
It's sea salt.
Feels like a shark's going through my throat. Anyway, so just that way, I expect Alyssa not to be one-on-one with any guy. And, I'd hate for them to make a move on her and for it to provoke questions in my mind of, well, did she stop before it happened? Were there signs? And, it just makes for a lot of questions. And, it's also, the old thing, don't play with fire. Don't put yourself in temptation's path. There's no reason for it. Maybe nothing ever happens, but why put yourself in a situation where you could be tempted in some way? And that's exactly what we want to avoid.
And it's also just like a sign of respect. And like there are some exceptions to it. Like obviously he can hang out with like his sister-in-law and like stuff like that one-on-one. It's not everybody. But it's funny because like probably soon after we had talked about this on the radio, we heard another pastor giving a speech on relationships, do's and don'ts of relationship biblically. And that's one of the things that he said him and his wife do, is that even though he's a pastor, he has to meet up for a lot of coffee or lunch or dinner dates with people just to kind of like talk with them about the Bible or what they're going through. And that's one of their things is as well that he won't meet up with them with another female by himself. And if he's put into the situation, I think he used as an example of he was supposed to meet up with a man and a woman, and her husband had to cancel last minute, so it was just the two of them. And he called his wife right away and said, hey, so-and-so couldn't make it. Do you feel comfortable with me continuing this coffee break, or should I reschedule?
Yeah.
So it's just a sign of respect.
And, just in that situation, you gotta make sure it's a public place for sure, I would never advise me in an office or things like that environment ever either. But let me read something too, and it's another thing I want to touch on, and then we'll salt, apparently. So this is from Mark Driscoll, he's a pastor. It says, don't cohabitate, don't fornicate, don't look at pornography, don't create a standard of beauty. Have your spouse be your standard of beauty. This is one of the great devastating effects of pornography. You lust after people, and you compare people to the people that you see in these videos. It's impossible to be satisfied with anyone or in your marriage if you don't have a standard that is biblical and the standard that is your spouse. So I agree with that. I think pornography is a big problem, and it's hard because when you look at churches, there's a lot of things that are the same in the church as they are not in the church. That's the amount of people who look at pornography and the divorce rate. They're practically the same within the church as they are outside the church. So it's a struggle, and it's important to talk about even to people of faith. You got to avoid those things because it's going to make you lust, it's going to make you crave, and it's going to make you look at just women you see every day in a negative view, in a negative light, and it's going to take away from the passion that you're going to have for your spouse.
I feel like I'm making bitter faces.
I know I'm making bitter faces, and I know my lungs hurt. Is that normal? Did you Google the side effects of this?
Oh, high blood pressure.
You already gave me that.
Too much.
I'm never going to be able to make it to another one. I'll probably throw up. Another thing, if you are looking to get married, I know it's hard to be lonely, but don't let your loneliness lead you to lust.
Yeah.
Seek attention in other ways. I know there's a lot of Christian groups out there. I hate that cat. There's a lot of Christian groups out there that do the singles meets where they do cool events like bowling this week, rock climbing the next week. Get involved with something cool like that where you're with people that you know that you can trust, that are Christians and that have the same values you do. And you're doing something fun to occupy your time, and you're not lonely because you're involved with this. There'll be other women there and other men, and you don't have to feel like you're in a pressured environment like a bar or a club and places like that because you meet somebody in a place like that. And I'm not saying it 100% never works out because it definitely could. You could meet another good Christian at a bar, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. But when you make that your standard, you're typically going to find people who drink a lot and that's their lifestyle is just like a bar itself. So you want to be careful of where you look for your significant other as well.
Mm-hmm. You can fill that void with these different adventures and events.
Good friends too. Don't be afraid to reach out to your friends when you're lonely, or to take more time with family. And I know that's hard because a lot of us don't have families that we want to spend a lot of time with. Maybe you and your siblings don't get along that great, or you and your mom never really got along. But you'd be surprised what you can find that you both enjoy too. Maybe you guys always have arguing when you talk. Fine, go somewhere there's not a lot of talking. Go to the movies with your mom. Go somewhere where she doesn't have to talk a whole lot.
What about David and Bathsheba?
Yeah, let's talk about that. And another thing I want to mention too, and this is a quote from another pastor. It says, "I'll tell you what's wrong with the world. There are too many servants of lust and not enough masters of love." And that's pretty cool. Jesus was obviously a master of love, and he wasn't ever lusting. So let's go to 2 Samuel.
Once you find it, you gotta salt.
I'm out. Everything burns.
That was 3.
Gosh,
You
that
didn't
was
take
a
it
lot.
very far.
It hurts. If you guys think that you want to make babies, go ahead and try this. Take a tablespoon of salt and tell me how you feel.
No, don't. I read drinking a tablespoon at one time can close your airways.
And here she does give us 7 shots of salt.
At different times.
Alright. Oh, wait, there you go. David and Bathsheba. So it's chapter 11, 2 Samuel. This is one of my favorite parts of the entire Bible for a couple of reasons. But first, so David, we even talked about this in the sermon. David's a man of prayer. He's always in prayer. He's writing Psalms. In fact, it's said in some of the Dead Sea Scrolls that David wrote over 3,500 songs and psalms to God. And we obviously don't have all of them, but that's the number he was said to have wrote. This is a guy who is so passionate for God, always seeking Him, always praying. And what we notice in David's character here is that he stops seeking God. In fact, you always read about David praying, David talking to God, David writing songs, and then you get to David and Bathsheba, and suddenly he's kind of distant from God. It doesn't say that, but you can feel it in the context. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. The man said, "Isn't this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam and the wife of Uriah the Hittite?" Hittite? Yeah. Then David sent messengers to get her. She came to him, and he slept with her. So, the pause to talk about is David lusted after her. So David knows he's sinning for lusting after her. He asks about her, finds out she's married, and so now he knows that not only is he lusting after a married girl, but she's already taken. But does David pray? Does he stop and say, "Oh man, God, I am beside me with this sin. Take this burden from me. Help me. Let me seek you"? No, he's absorbed with his sin. And he doesn't break for prayer. He goes straight from, "Who's that girl? Oh, that's so-and-so. She's married. Go get her. Bring her to me." Has her brought to him. Sleeps with her. Quick. Done. This is one bad night at the bar. This is terrible. So that's exactly what David does. And so things get bad to worse. She gets pregnant. So David realizes he's in a big mess. She's pregnant. Uriah's going to find out. So he says, "Uriah, come back from war." He comes back and he's like, "Tell me how the war is going." David doesn't care. He tells him. He's like, "All right, now go home to your wife." And he's like, "No, man, that's like breaking tradition. Like, if we're at war, we're at war. I'm not going to go home to my wife while all of my friends and comrades are out there fighting still. That would be dishonorable of me. I won't do it. I will not dishonor God and my fellow men by going home and drinking and being with my wife while we're in this state of war." So he ends up sleeping on the palace floor. David's like, "Dang it." So David writes a letter and says, "Put Uriah on the front lines and have him killed." Basically. Folds it up into a little envelope and says, "Here, Uriah, don't look at this. Give it to the commander." So Uriah, being an awesome soldier, is like, "All right, you got it, boss." Gives it to the commander. The commander sends a note back and says, "I did what you said. Uriah died in the front lines. We put him where the battle was most fierce, and he was killed." Everyone backed away from last thing. He was killed. So David is now sinned with lust, got him in such a mess that he had to keep lying and keep covering up his sin. And, just like Adam and Eve with the fig leaves, trying to cover themselves up, David's doing the same thing here. So this is what makes it my favorite part, is this shows how powerful God is and how he is everywhere and how he constantly chooses to use us. And he uses a prophet to come to David and to basically call him out and say, "I'm everywhere. I know what you did." So let's see. Then the Lord sent Nathan the prophet to David. When he came to him, he said, "There were 2 men in a certain town, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had a very large number of sheep and cattle, but the poor man had nothing except one little ewe lamb he had bought. He raised it, it grew up with him and his children. It shared his food, drank from his cup, and it even slept in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. Now a traveler came to the rich man, but the rich man refrained from taking one of his own sheep or cattle to prepare for the traveler who had come to him. Instead, he took from the poor man and took the ewe lamb that belonged to him and prepared it for the traveler who had come." David burned with anger here in the story. He burned with anger against the man and said to Nathan, "As surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this deserves to die, and he must pay for that lamb 4 times over, because he did this thing and had no pity." Then Nathan said to David, "You are the man. This is what the Lord God of Israel says. I anointed you king over Israel. I delivered you from the hand of Saul. I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into your arms. I gave you the house of Israel and Judah. And if that had been too little, I would have given you even more. Why did you despise the word of the Lord by doing evil in his eyes? You struck down Uriah the Hittite with a sword and took his wife to be your own. You killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. Now therefore, the sword will never depart from your house." And so it goes on. So, David is punished by God by this. Uriah being a good man, God definitely made sure justice was done, even on this time on earth. Not all justice comes on earth, but nevertheless, justice did come, and they had a stillborn child, even though David fasted, and the sword never left David all of his days. But the Lord didn't completely turn on his back on David. He did forgive David, and we still know David as a great king, a man after God's own heart. So that goes to show you, no matter how far you may stray or the things that you may have done before you were saved, you can always be forgiven. Your grace is enough. I mean, he's a killer, he's an adulterer, but yet he still was considered one of the greatest men of the Bible. So, don't put yourself in a situation like David. You lust, pray. And we'll close with 1 Corinthians 6:19. So I'll give you guys a minute to open there. But, if you find yourself in a situation where you're struggling with it, reach out to some trusted men or women and confide in them and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with looking at pornography. I'm struggling with this. Help me out with that. Put a passcode on your phone. Give somebody else a passcode. Let them do it. Do whatever it takes. Pray about it. Fast about it. And know that it can be overcome with God. Don't be looking at those bathing babes like David. 6:19, guys. Okay. Do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your body. This is one we touched on already this week, but it's still very important. We were bought at a price, and God doesn't want to see us do things and despise Him. Like He said to David, why do you do evil in the eyes of the Lord? Why do you despise me? Don't bring that to God. Don't hurt Him. Don't bring sadness to God because what you're doing to the temple He gave you is unholy. Seek to do what is right and what is just and to obey and honor God, not just with our lips, but and in praise, but with our minds and keeping our minds pure, keeping our bodies pure for Him. So please like, share, comment. I'm going to drink a couple water bottles and try to flush out my system. I'm going to Google how much salt is poisonous.
It's really bad when you take it in, but after it settles.
It's like how people tell you when you're a kid.
I wish I had a better component, a stronger component. I mean.
Competitor.
Yes, component.
Okay, so this is what it feels like. In case you guys don't want to do it, but you're curious, it's like pouring a bunch of Pop Rocks in your mouth and drinking Coke, and what you think will happen when you're a kid inside your stomach, that's what feels like is happening. I feel like I ate Pop Rocks, then I drank a liter of Coke, and my stomach's just like...
Fireworks?
Like firecrackers. So, that's what it feels like. But just so you know, that's never meant to actually kill you. But as always, thanks for listening, guys. Please like, comment, share. Get into the Word of God. Don't lust. Let's stay away from the 7 deadly sins. Join us tomorrow for Bible study. And I will try to at least have a brief talk about one of the sins, even if I can't incorporate it into the study. No? Yeah.
Never lose hope.
You don't know what tomorrow may bring.
What? Can I say bye? Say bye.